Wonderful. You'll find when I speak, I'm very interactive, and I like to ask a lot of questions of folks, and I like to walk on the stage a lot. So, does anybody know how old Heinz ketchup is? Anybody? Over 100 years, about 149 years. 149 years. And that's not a mistake. So you can imagine how many competitors have come in and out of the market, and how many have actually started to try to penetrate, but still Heinz remains about 50+% of the overall ketchup market, actually bigger than most any ketchup since it was invented, okay? So I'm here to talk a lot about product quality superiority. I'll give you a little bit of overview of Kraft Heinz in general. Kraft Heinz obviously merged back about 10 years ago now, and has been on a journey of kind of re-unlocking its synergies and then really trying to drive cost effectiveness. But as of lately, we've made a switch, and that switch has been to product superiority. And product superiority is something that we really need to take seriously in our company, because at the end of the day, if I can't continue to grow ketchup, I'm not going to end up paying the bills. 150 years, I don't want to be the generation that loses that. I want it to get to 200. And what I do today has to emulate into the 200-year range, okay? So I'm setting my company up for success in the future by unlocking product superiority. Now, Kraft Heinz has more than ketchup. Obviously, we have mac and cheese, Capri Sun. We have a ton of brands, but I'm not going to go into that because I think at the end of the day, you all can look on that in the internet. What I do like to talk a lot about with product superiority is brands. Brands are so key to the market that at the end of the day, if you are really looking at what you're trying to deliver from a product, it's about that brand equity. Why am I talking about brand equity at Food Safety and Quality Conference? The reason I'm talking about that today, we'll answer at the end, but it is key for you guys to help understand what it is that your brands can deliver over that 150 years, help deliver a food safety quality culture. So what's happening in the market today? We have over 12 companies that have 550+ branded products. You'll see a lot of these divided out by most of these companies, and I've been probably in, 1, 2, 3, 4 of those, now in my 5th. And I will tell you, brands are the key to delivering cost efficiencies, but they're also key to delivering the price gap, or the margin EBITDA as well, right? So I want to make sure that as we go through this presentation, you guys are really thinking about the holistic market here, okay? What I will transition to, though, is a threat. And that threat comes from unbranded or private label. So you can imagine COVID comes in 2020, 2021. A lot of consumers are changing their behaviors and habits. They're taking on more of the unbranded products. They're switching because at the end of the day, they are thinking that cost savings is going to equal what they need to get, right? So they're making those choices for their families. If you can imagine, unbranded and private label products really weren't in the market very heavily many, many years ago. So 30+ years ago, they were less than 5% of the overall market, okay? These products have now started to grow and grow, and most companies actually believe that they are going to be primary drivers for their own companies. So Kroger, Walmart, over 40% of their expected revenue growth for products of their own, it's going to come from the unbranded, okay? In North America alone, 14% of the products sold are unbranded private label products, okay? And this trend around all of Europe and Eastern Europe and Asia Pacific, very much the same, okay? So nearly half of all the US retail say that they're going to buy more private label retail products. The reason for that, obviously, is cost, perceived quality, and that brand equity. And the brand equity piece is so key, and I'm going to start getting into a little bit about that here in a minute. So think about this. While Kraft Heinz and many of our companies are starting to see declines in volumes, Walmart just called down over $600 million at the beginning of the year in their sales, right, for their products and overall sales. Our products, unfortunately, down because of the fact of volumes and declining sales. A lot of that is still being pumped into the private label products in the US. So 4.1% year over year, that's a very strong reflection of how there's a shift in the consumer behavior, okay? So private label is up 4.1%. The top 100 is about 2.4%, and the top 10 only 1.7%. So you can see a strong trend towards private label. Okay? Ketchup. You can imagine this is a very dear subject for me. Ketchup is huge, right? It's one of the bread and butter of Kraft Heinz. So a lot of people look at ketchup holistically and they say Heinz is the one that we go to, but you can imagine how much competition is out there, right? People are coming on the market daily with some new products, and then you have unbranded products just to top all of that off, okay? So the private label trend is really real. It is extremely real with ketchup, 23% of the market. So Kraft Heinz has taken it very seriously. So what we're saying is, in the last couple of years, we're trying to switch towards, instead of just trying to make more product and get more out there or take cost, we're trying to make sure that we have product superiority as our element, okay? So, switching a little bit of gears here, what I'll talk a little bit about, how does quality play a role in all that market? So, you think about what happened in the market, you got 23% of ketchup being differentiated into the private label sector. 14% of North America starting to move towards unbranded and private label. A lot of volume decreases, as we talk about in some branded products and call downs from Walmart. All of that has to translate into something needs to be done. So what needs to be done? Quality needs to help transform. We need to start talking about leveraging our brands and our brand equity. So quality needs to be a key player. Is that something that we can do as a function today if we focus on compliance and food safety? The answer to that is no. So when I was working with folks in Nestle, when I was working with folks in Henkel, right, I led organizations that helped us to deliver strong compliance results, strong food safety, strong general quality results. But what really the company was looking for from us was how can we leverage those base needs, not only of quality and food safety, but product superiority as well, okay? And quality can be a very transformative function if we allow it to do. And I will tell you, right now, I have built the first 30-person team for brand and innovation quality within Kraft Heinz that it's seen in over 2 decades, okay? These organizations have not really been around. I don't see them a lot. Some of them are really transformative if you can get the right buy-in and if leadership is bought into that journey. And I'll tell you, Kraft Heinz is on that journey today. And so what's happening in my organization is we're funding these new groups. We're building the tools that have helped us deliver not only the product superiority, but that brand equity story within the marketing team, okay? I like to talk a lot about quality as a transformative organization. So quality as a transformative organization is, what is our quality strategy? So as I mentioned a couple years ago, product superiority became the leverage. So we flipped from being the compliance and food safety guys to being the end-to-end quality folks. And so quality strategy is built into every product, and it's built into the product superiority. Quality product superiority is built into our product strategy and into our overall business strategy. And that is really true within Kraft Heinz, because what we're really focused on here is looking into the market, making sure that everything has a either a health check, it's being made the same, or it's got its food safety story correct. Everything has to be delivered end to end, okay? So quality is transformative. There are key consumer and brand criteria that we list in our specifications as well, and we make sure that we are designing to deliver. What all that means is that we are really just playing with discipline in Kraft Heinz and making sure that at the end of the day, we are delivering the story, the market, we are delivering everything that is key for making great, superior products and delivering on that 150-year story, okay? Performance related. I like this slide because at the end of the day, it really shows you a lot about what the transformation of quality can be. So from trust and safe food, through reliability, through relevance to value. And what I'm looking for here is that at the end of the day, and I'll get back to the question of why I'm talking about product superiority at a food safety conference, is because food safety is the base of what we do. It is the base of what everything should happen, what everything is revolving around within the quality function at Kraft Heinz. And this is true for most of the companies that I worked with, okay? A lot of that translates up to reliability, which is about manufacturing consistency, and a lot about relevance, which is brand-driven specifications. But not a lot of quality folks can make that jump from food safety compliance up into reliability relevance and then into brand quality assurance. And what does it mean to be a brand quality excellence leader? Okay? And so what I've built at Kraft Heinz, and what we do, is we design into our products the basics of quality by design, but we take it a little bit further, okay? And we take it a little bit beyond what we should be doing, outside the realm of just food safety, HACCP programs, et cetera. And we're really talking about performance-based elements. So I'm going to talk here in a minute about a couple of the tools that we need just to make sure that that brand equity and that brand quality assurance is really helping, okay? So no secret, I think everybody understands what brand equity is, but I want to remind people that brand equity is, as I think what the other speaker mentioned, that first moment of truth. Everybody should know what the first moment of truth is, right? It's when the consumer goes and they pick up that bottle of ketchup or they pick up that bottle of whatever it may be, and they look at it and say, this is the first moment of truth. I'm going to either buy this or that. It's the consumer decision point. So that first moment of truth is still about how the consumer perceives the quality. So brand equity has a formula, and that formula is very key for us to understand that decision point in that first moment of truth, okay? And brand equity as the formula is this: brand awareness, perceived quality, and brand loyalty. So one of the reasons that I was successful in selling this into Kraft Heinz was, at the end of the day, if you're going on a product superiority journey and you're thinking about your brand and you want to keep Heinz as a 150-year brand, what do you need to make sure is true within this brand equity formula, and where does quality help? Quality helps right here in the middle, perceived quality, okay? Very simple. And we can help by understanding that when we look at perceived quality, the difference between a great value ketchup and a Heinz tomato ketchup is very simple, right? It's our brand, color, cap, clarity, everything, the whole unit. So as people look at the two of these on shelf and you look at what is the difference between a great value tomato ketchup and a Heinz tomato ketchup, you have to understand that brand equity apparent. So there's a brand awareness piece, absolutely true. Brand awareness, people have to know about the Heinz name, which they do because it's 150 years. So that's an easy part. Brand loyalty, Heinz is one of the highest brand loyalty metrics in the industry. Perceived quality is the thing that we have to be careful of. So yes, it starts with food safety, so we don't want to have any things like lactics or micros happening. But it also goes up the chain of reliability. Color. A long time ago, not a long time, a few years ago, Heinz went on a journey and said, color has to be the most robust and rich red that we can get. And that translated into very detailed color specifications in which you have a very robust red color on the shelf market. So when you look at all of the choices on the shelf, Heinz will always stick out in that clear bottle, okay? There's a famous quote by H.J. Heinz that says, doing common things uncommonly well will lead you to success, okay? That is so true about what we do here in the perceived quality space, because when you look at tomato ketchup made with sugar from Great Value and tomato ketchup made with sugar, it doesn't say that on our product, but the color and the clarity of the cap help that first moment of truth, okay? So what can we do in food safety and quality to give back to the business and help lead that product superiority journey? Okay. One, staying connected to the consumer and making sure that we are listening to what they do. Two, investing in high quality and most importantly, consistency. Okay, that is so true about understanding the manufacturing element, right? So if you can imagine, we've been making Kraft Heinz or Heinz ketchup for about 150 years. Some of the equipment gets a little old, right? They're not always investing in equipment. Okay? So we have to make sure that we are constantly investing in equipment, and you can imagine that's a continuous challenge. So if we have color specifications, we have those types of things, make sure that we are providing the right opportunity to make the equipment work for us so that we can deliver on the consistency. We want to create strong, innovative new products from the voice of the consumer. Obviously, that's quality by design basics, and I hope we all know about that. And then help ensure a quiet supply chain, which is just the basic fundamentals of not having out-of-spec material, not having a food safety incident, micros, et cetera, okay? So what can we in food safety and quality give back to the business? Those are those three. And there's three tools that we use, and I'm going to get a little technical here and just kind of dive down into them, and then I'll share an example with you outside of Kraft Heinz, but I think it's extremely relevant for the conversation. So we use three tools. One is called brand health checks, and I'll get into in a minute. Product safaris, and what I call the House of Quality, which is a very well-known tool. Actually, I think it's over 20, 30 years old, called the House of Quality that we just started to implement, okay? So what is a product safari? A product safari is simply thinking about the fact that now, everything that you see online, and I love that picture of that guy, it's one of my favorites. They're gonna, on TikTok or on YouTube, everybody's a critic, and somehow, for some reason, everybody's got a voice, and it's pertinent to everybody, and these people, who knows this guy? Does anybody know this guy? No, right? But he has an opinion, he has 100,000 followers, and at the end of the day, he can give you a headache, right? It's terrible. So they're going to criticize everything that you have on there, and they're going to look at Heinz tomato ketchup and go, I don't know if I like that. And at the end of the day, you have so many competitors on the shelf. You have it in Amazon, you have it in e-commerce, it's everywhere. A product safari is simply this, that when you build a brand and innovation team, or you build that brand quality team, you go out and make sure that what you have in the market is relevant to everything else that's there, and better, okay? So you think about Heinz tomato ketchup and you go, hey, compared to this subset of other ketchups, what is gonna make Heinz stand out? Is it the Keystone label? Is it the made fresh from tomatoes, where we have our own seed farms? Is it the color? Is it the way that the cap is there? And so these kind of product safaris are when you go out and you get that relevancy against the market. And it's very simple. You take your marketing teams, is what we do. We go with the marketing teams, we go onto the shelf. How does that shelf look? Is it set? Do we have product on shelf? What are the attributes that are on our product that are not here? And we look at everything within these guys, and there's a couple of them out there that are really fun. They'll go out there and they'll tell you exactly what they think. And they can sometimes actually be giving you all the details you need. So if you go look at some of these TikTokers or YouTubers, they will sometimes tell you where to go look. And why is it that quality should be doing that? Because quality has a technical function that is relevant for everybody in the business, right? So when we think about somebody who's got a food safety and compliance piece, we got somebody who understands the LAB values, and I talk about color a lot. They're going to be able to translate that not only from the brand all the way to the factory, but up the chain and down into the technical world. So from the commercial to the technical. So this is really how a product safari has worked at Kraft Heinz. We've been able to go out and really get a lot of that data, okay? The other one is House of Quality. I'm not going to touch too much on that because it is a great tool, and we're starting to build that. But we build that with Innovation House of Quality. And the reason I look at this is because you have to have a very flexible supply chain to use this House of Quality, because this leverages how much technical capability you have, your product attributes, and everything in between, and understanding why it's there. So at the end of the day, you look at product quality from a lens of what can you do differently within your manufacturing network, and how do you do it. And so what we did in Kraft Heinz is we looked at that and we said, okay, our machines sometimes are kitchens, we call them, are many, many years old. What can we do differently to be more flexible? And that's what was brought out here. And why is it important? Because this connects the consumer to your supply chain. Okay, it connects the consumer back to the details within the supply chain to allow you to understand what it is you can do and what it is you could be doing, okay? Last but not least is brand health checks. So brand health checks are, I don't know if they're very well known in the industry, but they've been in a couple of places where I've worked, especially Nestle and here at Kraft Heinz. So brand health checks are basically a translation of the consumer attributes. So I'm going to ask a quick question because I think I want to. How many people know the top 3 attributes of their #1 seller? Not many. About 6 in the audience. Okay. So the top 3 attributes of Heinz ketchup are going to be color, sweetness, or organoleptics, right? And then use, so the squeeze, right? So 1 product or packaging attribute and 2 product attributes, okay? So brand health checks do this. They come back and they say, okay, how are we translating those top 3 elements of product superiority into tight specifications and translate that into the factory? So again, going all the way from the factory, or all the way from the brand attributes to the factory. This is extremely critical. Why? Because things can change over time. You need to review it continuously. You need to review it because everybody likes to take cost savings, right? So if you can imagine, cost savings will eat away at these attributes, and eventually you'll find yourself in a position where your product superiority attributes are not actually meeting where they need to be, okay? So that's brand health checks, what we've done. I'm going to give you a little bit of an example here. And this one I love because it's really fun to talk about, and we can always pick on the bottled water. Anybody in the bottled water industry here? All right, good. So we can always pick on the bottled water industry a little bit, okay? And trust me, I was in water as well. So when you look at the different bottled waters, and sorry for the clarity of the pictures, but if you look at the difference in design of these, and you're a consumer, and you think, oh my gosh, I want to go get a bottle of water, you might just want to grab something because you're thirsty. But the interesting thing is, these sit next to each other in Costco, these sit next to each other everywhere you go. And you think about the first one on the left, just a random one I picked, so Pure Life. It's an old one, Nestle doesn't even own that brand anymore. The cap was clear, short, right? It's got a slim sleeve, means that Pure Life label on there. It's about looks like about 1.5 inches, 2 inches. Plastic, probably about 8 to 10 grams, somewhere around there. Design, very technical. All those bumps and ridges in there are because you need to use that lightweight of a plastic to make it hold up straight. The next one over is a Great Value. Sparkling water, very similar, or not sparkling, Great Value, just drinking water. Very similar, cap style, very light, cost efficient, we would call it. Technical design of the bottle, really slim sleeve. Again, not very appealing. Dasani, a little bit more interesting, okay? Green, tall, cap. The cap is actually same size as a beverage cap you find on a Coke. So that one there is very interesting. Why would it be green? Does anybody know? It's green because that indicates a certain type of color coding, I'm assuming. But most of the research that we did when I was working with Nestle is because at the end of the day, that green signifies something other than water. It's a beverage, something different that you're holding in your hand, not a very short, clear cap that's just wasted, okay? Aquafina, very similar type of thing. So what can you look at these and notice? Just slight differences. Everything inside there is purified drinking water. So it's just distilled water, some additives, electrolytes, etc. The difference you see is the price, right? So $5.87 current price. I looked on Google right now for a bottle of water. $3.64 for a Great Value over there. $6.99 for a 24-pack and $6.98 for a 24-pack. Okay. Can you guys guess how much cost difference there is between these? Not a lot. Not a lot. You're talking about grams of plastic here. Okay. Plastic roughly runs you about 58 cents, I think, a pound. You know? No? Okay. So plastic is pretty cheap. So you can throw that in there. You can blow 3 bottles, and then in that bottle, it's about 5 cents. Okay? So for 5 cents of plastic, about 5 cents on the label, and a nice cap for another penny, you've actually increased your price target by about $1. Okay? The difference, and I never get over this saying, the difference is that what the consumer perceives to be real and what they're buying is different. Liquid Death did this wonderfully, right? They just took water, threw it in a can, made it look like beer, and nobody knew the difference, so you could walk around holding this can while you're at a party. And yes, it's the same water that goes in here. So if you look at this example of product superiority, these are much more expensive than the two on the left, and the reason is because they look different. What's in there is relatively similar, okay? Not the same, but relatively similar. Purified water, electrolytes, etc. Okay? The interesting thing is when I was in Nestle, I looked at a lot of these things because the product superiority became a question around what could we do differently and should we do it? And this is something that came up as where do we need to go look at that first moment of truth? Okay? So it brings me back around to what is the power of quality? Okay? The power of quality should be product knowledge and process understanding, okay? Why do I think product quality superiority is so important, and why am I talking about it at a food safety conference? Because when you think about, and our prior presenter talking about food safety culture, yes, food safety is paramount. It is critical to quality, and it must be adhered to. But product knowledge is one thing that quality has in its pockets that can be leveraged to deliver on product superiority. So if I bring your mind back to that brand equity position, product superiority, okay, brand equity has the formula of having perceived quality. Quality is something that we should own technically and commercially, okay? So it's a little bit of a stretch. So this is why we in Kraft Heinz are going down this journey, okay? Product knowledge on our business in Kraft Heinz is really about understanding everything from sensory, formula, product packaging, delivery, all of it, okay? And understanding that everybody within that quality function, as well as in the operations, is really built and culturally sufficient to understand that all of these things matter on that bucket. And then process understanding is really about making sure, like in those brand health checks, that your statistical process control is up to speed, your products are built to some performance specs, okay, and that every function along the way is building that, okay? So what I'm really looking for here as a message for you guys is quality can deliver a lot more because of the product knowledge, the process understanding, and leveraging that to the commercial element, okay? Last but not least, and I'll kind of wrap it up here with a few questions on this little journey of mine, is we are at Kraft Heinz taking a lot of looks at improved consumer data and insights. Why is this? Because when we think about everything from what people throw ketchup on in the morning to how people are looking at our products on social media, predictive analytics, everything plays a role in this highly competitive industry today. If I bring you back around to the unbranded story that I started with, the unbranded private label journey is tough. It's going to be a big push, okay? 14% of the U.S. in 2023, I'm sure it's going to be 15, 16, right? There's limited shelf space. Walmarts are not making more room for us, right? They're going to use the shelf space they have, and if it's going to be pushed onto that, that's great. And retailers in general are doing that, not just one, but retailers in general are going to be leveraging their own shelf space to put their own products on there, okay? So we have to get very creative, we have to get detailed, and get back to that understanding of our products in depth, and then bring that journey back to our organization, build it through the process and the product, and help them deliver that product superiority journey, okay? So last question is why? And the reason I like to end with that is because why did I come here to fly to Austin to talk to you guys about product superiority and food safety? The reason I did that is because at the end of the day, I think we face a change in the industry, not only in the food business, but I think in many CPG companies in general. And that is that we are fighting off private label and unbranded products, but we are also bringing in way more free trade. There's a lot of things coming from overseas that we have to fight off. And we are also responsible with delivering the next 50 years of our products, next 100 years of our products. Okay, these brands pave the way for new innovation. They pay for R&D. They pay for everybody in this room to do what they do correct. We have a journey at Kraft Heinz that is beyond food safety. It's beyond just basic compliance quality. It's really about brand and innovation quality and that product superiority journey. So that's why I'm here to help everybody understand. I think there is a way forward, and it has worked so far in the Kraft Heinz journey, and it's going to continue in the next several years to make sure that we are delivering beyond the next 50 and making Heinz ketchup the one condiment that everybody continues to use, okay? Other than that, I'll take any questions.
Oh, you can just set it right there. Do we have some time for some questions? Any questions for Peter? We have one here in the front.
What's working or not working as far as knowledge management?
So the question is, what's working in knowledge transfer across the business? So you can imagine we have 60 sites globally, 30 here in the US. Kraft has over 52 brands of products, okay? Each brand has different product superiority attributes. So when we talk about specifics technically, and this is the challenge and the muscle that I'm taking my team through, it's not so much about trying to explain the technicality of why Heinz ketchup is red and that you should go make Oscar Mayer meats a certain color. No, it's about the knowledge transfer of being able to relate the commercial and the technical into one piece. And by that I mean, if I'm going to go take Heinz ketchup from a product superiority attributes of sugar, color, and package, then I need to go back and understand what is happening in Oscar Mayer, right? And then I need to go back and understand why in Capri Sun, what those three attributes are, and build those product superiority processes that help emulate across. It's actually been a very tough journey for us because not a lot of people can understand that you have to then really look at consumer insights, translate those into something technically, get them into the operations has to sustain that. And if the operations is not built infrastructurally correct to do that, then you have a problem. And the one reason I like what I talked to you guys about the water bottles, this was a project worked on when I was in Nestle. It actually translated into a large cost savings, right, for folks. And it gave the brand teams an opportunity not only to look at, can we redesign the bottle that was over 15 years old? Yes, it did. And so this is why if we open up the vault of quality and say technically and commercially work together, then you get a lot of these beautiful types of projects that you and quality can go sponsor and say, we're good to go, we helped you out do this, but oh, by the way, let's keep food safety and quality consistency. So hope that answered your question. Yep.
We have another question?
Oh, I'm trying to take over R&D. No, I'm kidding. Extremely close. So I built in Kraft Heinz a functional model, which I built the brand and innovation quality team, like I said, about 30 folks. They are partnered and even indirectly reporting into R&D, because I believe quality as a supply chain function alone is very much a disservice to an entire function of quality. And so what I built is this kind of indirect reporting. So R&D obviously owns a lot of this with the commercial team, but quality has actually been the glue as of late to bring it all together and the challenge. One of the things that I would tell you is my team is starting to use a famous quote of mine, at least it's famous around Kraft Heinz, right? The cost difference between cheesy bread and pizza, it's about $5, but the only difference is 2 tablespoons of marinara, right? Why is that? It's because the consumer perceives a higher level of quality. And so that is something that, to me, I yell at my wife all the time, we're never buying pizza, just get the marinara sauce on the side, right? This is something that we in Kraft Heinz are going on a journey with R&D and making sure that they understand that as well, because again, they're a technical function, right? Very technical. And when you bring them all together, the technical and commercial have to matter. That's a good question.
Any other questions?
Okay.
All right.
Thank you
Very much.